Hi guys, I'm in Turkey now. I've been in Edirne for now 3 days. I think it's my it's my third day here. I was only planning on being here for a day, but just doing some administration stuff and walking around and getting used to the Greek culture. I'm sorry, not Greek, the Turkish culture. Uh, I thought I'd just make a little video about when I crossed the border from Greece into Turkey. Uh, I really didn't know what I was getting into when I was going to cross. I tried to do a little bit of research, didn't really find that much information. It was somewhat vague. When I left Greece, they had checked my insurance documents, and they saw that I only had one more day left for my insurance in Europe. It's something that they did make note of, and I've traveled into Europe and out of Europe and all around Europe, and I've never been questioned about my insurance documentation, but this time they did. Anyways, I thought I'd just give that a mention. It wasn't an issue because I was good, but it was something that they do, I guess, keep an eye on. Uh, when I went on the Turkish side, the Turkish police at the border, they're very friendly, very professional. Like I said, when you go to the borders and that, sometimes you don't know really what you're getting into. But my experience was that they're very professional and all in all friendly. You know, they had a job to do, but obviously I didn't have any insurance for Turkey because my insurance is only good for the EU. And I thought when I went into the Ukraine, it wasn't an issue. They didn't even ask me for insurance. I went about a kilometer past the actual border point, and there was some little huts that were selling auto insurance. And then I just went in there, picked up the insurance, and off I went. It wasn't a big deal. Anyways, I thought they would maybe let me go into the city too, because the city is only a few kilometers away to get insurance, but they wouldn't let me drive. So what they did is they ordered me a taxi. They said you can take a taxi, go in, get insurance, and then come back, which was, I thought, more than fair enough. Anyways, so when they ordered me the taxi, I asked the police agent. I said, "How much is this going to cost me?" Because I wasn't too sure if it was a little bit of a scam or something that was happening. But he told me 10 euros, and I thought he goes to go and come back 10 euros, and I was like, you know what, that's reasonable, and I don't have much of a choice, so I said okay. So anyways, he called me a taxi. I went out, I got my insurance. It took me about it took us about 15 minutes to get there, and it was quite the ride. The Turkish like to drive fast, and the taxi drivers even more so. So anyways, it made me glad that I had my seatbelt on. It was quite the ride. I was quite surprised there. But anyways, when we got to the office, he brought me to the proper office. I got my insurance. I had to get it for 3 months. They said that they only sell it in 3-month packages or whatever. And it wasn't that bad. It was about 50 euros, a little bit less than 50 euros, which is about $75. So it was about between $20 and $25 a month, which, all in all, it's not really good, because in Ukraine it cost me, like, for 3 months, I think it cost me like $7 or $8. But anyway, so you have to have it, so I got it. But I've also read on different platforms and on different places on the internet where they said your insurance basically isn't worth anything. You have to have it, but if something happens, you're kind of on your own, is my understanding. I hadn't talked to anybody about it. That's just what I saw on the internet. Anyways, so I got my insurance, and then I went back to the border, and then the taxi driver wanted to charge me 15 euros. So I told him no, it's 10, and he got kind of huffy a little bit. I said, okay, let's go see the police. And because he had kind of broken English at best. He was like, "Oh, it doesn't matter what the police say. It's 15 euros." So we went into the border control, and I talked to the police, and they just talked to him for, I don't know, about 20 seconds, and then the police came back and said, yeah, it's 10 euros. So I went and paid the guy 10 euros, and he said, oh, you want it in Turkish currency, which I had Turkish currency. I had gotten 100 euros worth. I wanted to make sure I had some when I crossed the border because I knew I was going to have to get insurance. Anyways, so when I go to give him it in Turkish currency, he kind of shortchanged me on the exchange. So I gave him 100, and he gave me back 30. And I said, no, that's some more. And he ended up giving me back 35. So that it was basically a 6-to-1 exchange rate, but it was 6.10. So an extra 5, that's fair. That's not a big deal. So anyway, so I got to came back with my paperwork, gave them everything to the border control, and it took about 15 minutes for them to stamp and process it. And then I went to pass the customs, and the guy came over. He took a look in my trunk of my bike, and then in one of the panniers, and he didn't even he just kind of, I moved my tent out of the way, and he kind of just poked his nose in and touched a couple of things, and he asked me some questions about where I was going. I told him I was going to Kazakhstan. And he just said, oh, okay. And there's a couple other guys around. And I said, yeah, no problem. He said, you're good to go. So I just, I packed up and I left. But yeah, I was really not surprised, but pleasantly surprised, because it went fairly smoothly. And they were nothing but helpful and positive. And it was a very positive experience. So I thought I'd pass it on to anybody who's thinking to go through to Turkey. I know the Europeans, they probably know all this. It's not an issue. From what I understand, the Europeans and the Greeks and the Europeans, they can go into Turkey and don't even need a passport. They just need some identification. I guess their driver's license or whatever is good enough. But for non-Europeans, especially North Americans like myself, I'm Canadian. I had to pay for a $60 visa, which is good for 6 months, and it's good for a 3-month stay within a 6-month period. And it's a multi-entry visa, but still it's $60, and it's a little bit more cumbersome. So yeah, if you're a North American traveling around with your bike, I'd say probably passing from Greece it wasn't really a problem. And it was also the most northern border where I crossed. It's right where Greece, Turkey, and Bulgaria meet. And I'm glad that that's where I came, because I think the other border crossing was really small. I'm not too sure if I would have been able to get insurance at that border crossing. But here it wasn't an issue. So I thought I'd just pass that on. Actually, the other thing is that the next day, yesterday, I had gone back to the insurance company to ask some questions, because then I started thinking, okay, what happens when I come back from Kazakhstan and want to go back into Europe? How am I going to get insurance? Because I know on the Greek side, there was just a village there, and I don't think there was even a place to get insurance. So I was kind of concerned, and I thought, well, maybe on the Bulgarian side it would be better, but I didn't know. And then I was kind of, I should have crossed on the Bulgarian side, because I knew the Bulgarian side is where I got my insurance before and what have you. So when I talked to the insurance guy, he said, it's not a problem. When you come back through here, you go through the Bulgarian side. They got an insurance company stand right on the other side for Bulgaria. And he said, I asked him about Georgia, because I'm going into Georgia. I said, well, where should I cross? So he told me to cross along the coastline. And he said on the Georgian side, there's a place right there at the border to get insurance. And he said when you come back, he said there's also a place on the Turkish side that on the Turkish side where I can get insurance. He says that insurance place is open 24 hours. So it doesn't matter what time I come through, I can come through and I get my insurance. So it kind of gave me a real peace of mind, because then I start thinking, oh geez, what next? Da, 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 da. And yeah, it's a little bit. And then when you talk to somebody who's actually works in that industry, really, when you get there, then you find out for sure. But I've gotten to get a pretty good feeling when speaking with people, and you get to know when a person really knows what they're saying or when they're guessing. A lot of times people, they just want to be helpful, so they're going to, some people, some cultures will say what you believe, what they believe is true, but they want to tell you what you want to hear. So and you know, in Latin America, I found that a lot more like that, and even in Southeast Asia, it was like that. But speaking to this the guy at the insurance company, no, it seemed like he was just talking about. I see it in his eyes like he was talking about facts, and so anyways, it was pretty helpful. So I thought I'd just make this video and pass on that information. Anyways, have a good one, guys. Bye bye.